So we're here for the Soil Farmer of the Year competition 2025, which is the 10th year that it's run. So it's still going. We're still finding new farmers and hearing all the amazing things that they're up to on their journeys. So what is the competition really? What we're looking for is to celebrate those farmers in the UK who are, promoting the best of what the British farmers can do, and looking at where soil is the core of their business in order to build that resilience, and in order to use that to share those experiences with other people. And it's amazing that so many of these farmers have put themselves forward in order to show what they're doing. So I'll just introduce to you the people we've got on stage with me. So we have Jade Prince, who's the soil specialist at Hutchinson's, Ian Wilkinson, who is the managing director of Farm Ed and Cotswold Seeds, and Deborah Crossan, who's the head of soils and natural resources at Innovation for Agriculture, and who is a proud partner of the Soil Farm of the Year competition. So I'd just like to thank all the sponsors for the time they've taken and continued support for this competition. And yeah, I think we'll hear from you guys. So Jade, do you want to start?
Lovely, yes, thank you. So I think it's our 6th year sponsoring the award. It's my 3rd year of being involved and being part of the judging panel. And I think what I can honestly say is over the years that I've been involved is that the applications have become more and more competitive, more and more difficult to make a decision from. So I'm not too sure how many applications we had in total, but trying to whittle them down to just the on-farm visits was challenging enough without trying to get them to 3 finalists that we have today. So really inspirational seeing what's happening on farm, hopefully reflecting the whole industry and seeing the innovation that is happening often under pressures that we have from various different angles, but to see farmers trying to reach that in every way that they possibly can, enterprise stacking, different things for nature. There's so much that you're asked to think about, and I think everybody that will be up on the stage today has really nailed that in one way or another. So yeah, once again, thank you for allowing us to be a sponsor. Thank you to Farm Carbon Toolkit and Innovation for Ag for organising the event. And yeah, hope we'll be involved for many more years to come.
So thank you to Hutchinson's for your thanks to Hutchinson's for your continued support throughout the competition, and thank you, Ian, for Cotswold Seeds input. Special thank you must go to you for providing the prize for the competition as well. So should I?
Thanks, Stefan. Thank you everyone for coming this evening, and it's just a really important moment. I think 10 years this has been going now, and when I started farming, if you'd have had an award for Soil Farmer of the Year, I just don't think that would have happened. This is a really important statement that we're all making about soils. We're really happy to have been associated with it, as Hutchinson's have as well. So it's a wonderful thing. I think don't underestimate the power of being a finalist. I've seen many farmers have completed applications to come in, and they wear that badge of being a finalist, for the rest of their farming time. This is a really big thing for the farm teams that are supporting those of you that are representing the farms tonight. This is an award. It's a sort of, a real stamp of endorsement going forwards. So very pleased to be supporting this. Thanks for the opportunity.
Sure. Thank you, Ian. And finally, our proud partners in the competition, Debs, would you like to talk about it?
Thanks very much. Well, welcome everybody. It's really great to be here again for Soil Farmer of the Year, anticipated, and we've worked through it since the 5th of December last year, so we've had a fantastic time and privilege looking at all of these farms. Just a little note to everyone who's looking at this and wondering, if you would like to put yourselves forward, please do after the 5th of December, World Soils Day this year. It's a fantastic competition to be involved in. We absolutely love supporting it and working on it. So please be encouraged by what you see today, and you will be very, very welcome. I know we don't like to brag or put ourselves forward, but just do it. Thank you.
Thank you again to you guys, because we couldn't do this without you. And thank you to all the farmers who took the time to put an application in, go through the application process, have us on farm, and answer our questions. It's really inspirational to hear your stories and be a part of that. And we have David Newman, who's one half of Buxton Grows here, who's last year's winner, to just briefly talk about his experience in the competition.
Evening, everybody. Pick up on what Ian said, really. It was a surprise for us to win. We were the first horticultural market gardeners to be awarded the Soil Farmer of the Year, and we're quite small, and it was like a small seed, and people never really believed in what we did and thought we were a little bit niche, but in reality it's given a real stamp and proof that actually we've got a message to send out there, and it's not just the big boys doing a good job, we're all doing a good job, and we should all share and listen and learn. No one knows it all, and I think that's my message, and that's just given me and my wife and to our local farmers and beyond, is to listen to what the small boys are doing as well. We've all got something to learn.
Thank you, David. And I think without further ado, it would be grand if we can get on to the prize giving. So do we want to start with all of the finalists, and then we'll go down to the top three?
Okay. Is there a drum roll?
Is there a drum roll?
Hey, well done. Right, so we have 6 finalists in no particular order, may I say, at this point. So Will Oliver. Am I just going to run through them all?
Should we run through the finalists?
Yes, okay, hold tight, everyone. Will Oliver, Paul Baker, Rob Whittle, Andrew Mahan, and John Joseph, and Jonathan Hodgson. Okay, here we go. In third place, Andrew Mahan.
Would you like to present the prize? So, Andrew, would you like to come up and... Jake, sorry.
So, in second place, Jonathan Hodgson. So I probably don't need to announce the final finalist, do I? Because it's obvious you've worked out it's John Joseph.
Wow. Yeah, no, I'm shocked. No, thank you all very much. And I've got to really thank my wife, Julie, right behind us. We started this journey a long time ago, and we did jump in with both feet. And it was a bit nerve-wracking there to start with, but she stuck with me all the way through. And I can't believe we got here today. So, and tremendous support from everybody in Hertfordshire as well, just encouraged us to keep going, and yeah, that's amazing. Thank you so much.
Brilliant. Thank you ever so much, and thank you again to our kind sponsorship from Cotswold Seeds and Hutchinson's, and our partnership, as always, with Innovation for Agriculture. And well done to all the farmers who applied, our finalists and our top 3. And if you could all come and join me on stage up here, that'd be fantastic. Just in any order you like, just take a seat. Brilliant. Well done, you 3. So, I think the whole part of this experience is about learning from what you guys are doing on farm and how that can be applied to others, and perhaps a little bit about, why you've made the decisions you've made on your journey. So, if we start with you, Andrew, and we'll just go through. Pick up your mics if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, I mean, we started 2012. We had a horrendous harvest. It was a really tough year. We were quite conventional farmers up to that point, and something had to change. It was a really wet year. The combine was getting stuck. We were in a bit of a muddle, and so that winter, I did a lot of research and decided we had to make a change, and less is more is what I came up with. So we stopped cultivating, basically. We went to strip tillage for 2 years, and we've been zero till for 10 years now. We stopped using insecticides 10 years ago, and gradually reducing our pesticide usage, fertilizer usage, and just more interest in soil health. And that sort of drives a lot of the decision making for us now. If the conditions aren't right, we won't go on the fields, and just looking after the soil.
Brilliant, thank you. And what about you, John?
Much the same story, really. We started after the horrendous year of 2012, went strip tillage and then more of a direct drill, and I've sort of gone back to a bit of strip tillage now. But the main thing for us, what I think I've really got onto now going forward, is I've just taken that point of trying to keep a living root in the soil, and then from that I've sort of thought, well, there's got to be something in this, and I've just got into the idea of the root exudase, the diversity really, and I've just tried to keep pushing on, to keep taking that forward to the extent now where we're growing companion crops with everything, and it's just getting better and better all the time. And we really started from a financial point of view. We were the same. I think it was very similar for a lot of people. We were up against it. We had to find a better way forward, and we clearly got there.
Brilliant, lovely. And Jonathan, you've started a bit more recently, so what was your reason for starting on this journey?
We started in 2019, but very similar to these guys, really. Get to a point that financially, to reinvest in equipment, it was getting, I thought, expensive then. I could see BPS was down the line going to disappear, which it has done now. So we decided to change. It was a pure financial point of view, was to try and take control of the things. We had control of one being machinery costs. So we bought a strip till, sold the majority of the cultivation equipment, so there was no turning back. And then and that was our starting point from there. But I echo a lot what these guys said. From that point on, being a financial decision soon turned into something else. Like a lot of people, the first book I read was Gabe's book, and then it really snowballed from there, and you want to find out more about what's going on within the soil, and it soon became much more than just changing the cultivation system to actually wanting to improve and look after the soil in a better manner.
Fantastic. I think just take a step back. You've all got a base in arable farming, but you're all doing something slightly different. So do you want to just give a quick overview of sort of the crops you're growing and maybe any livestock you integrate on the farm and sort of the scale you're working at? So do you want to start with you again, Jonathan?
Yeah. So I'm actually from East Yorkshire, so you probably won't go to that part of East Yorkshire unless you want to, because we're east of Hull. We're in the little pointy bit of East Yorkshire, so you only go there if you really want to. So we're a 208 hectare farm. I'd like to call ourselves now a mixed farm. We were arable, but we are heading far more to being a mixed farm. We have diverse rotation. The usual wheats. We grow malting barley for the brewery on the farm. We grow spring oats. We grow flax, which is quite unusual. We've been growing that for 4 years. We're growing industrial hemp this year for the first time. We grow winter beans. We grow spring viney peas for seed. and we've got herbal layers in rotation now. So it's a very diverse. That's the picture of our understory actually on screen there now. That's our understory now, beans. So it's a very diverse rotation. We've in partnership with my nephew, we've now got a little suckle herd on the farm, which is really good. Now we've got actually cattle back on the farm for the herbal layers and the other grasses. I get sheep on the farm through another collaboration with a local farmer who has lots of sheep. So we get sheep on to graze the cover crops in the winter time. So we are our goal is to try and get like these, like getting a living root in the soil all the time, be cover crops, catch crops, companion crops, but trying to get cattle on our livestock on, the farmers as much as we can. But we're still learning.
Brilliant. And what about you, John?
We're in Ross-on-Wye, Hertfordshire, predominantly a sandy soil over a clay. And we're a small farm, so we're basically trying to go for as high value crops as we can. So I'm growing seed crops, herbage seed, peas, wheat, that sort of stuff. And then we've got a small herd of sucker cows, just very few, and we just use those for our basis for our compost making. So it's very difficult with the seed companies that we grow for. They want to come out and they want to see lovely clean crops. They don't like the companion cropping that I've been doing and that sort of stuff, but I'm getting them to come around now to our way of thinking. It's just what else are we doing? So I'm trying, as I said, I'm trying to companion crop everything. We're trying to make some compost, which we add, and then from my crops we go on a nutritional based system, whereas everything is about nutrition, so everything tries to be about plant health, soil health, just continually trying to build aggregations so that the crops can feed off really. And it's working. We've now got, we're growing for some seed growers that are happy to see companion crops right through till they inspect the crops. So it's working.
Brilliant. What about you, Andrew?
So we're 870 hectares in North Bedfordshire. Very heavy clay, hand slope series clay, pretty consistently across the farm. We've cropped 640 hectares. We've got quite a bit of woodland, we've got solar panels and stuff. All combinable crops, and this year we've sort of gone more into SFI, so we're rotating a lot of summer and winter cover crops and bird food and NUM3 around the farm as our sort of breaks, and bringing a huge mix of seeds in that to bring the diversity. And then we're drilling winter wheat into those cover crops in the autumn, and then spring wheat in the spring. So we're growing 80 hectares for Wild Farm this year for the first time. Spring wheat, which is it's gone pretty well. I think that's something hopefully we'll carry on with. And then we planted some agroforestry 2 years ago. We've planted a 24 hectare field. We planted 6,500 trees in there, 660 walnut trees, and that's designed in a replicated design with leguminous trees in between as well, which is with Reading University are studying for us as well. It's been
Brilliant. I think you touched on a bit, John, but I think all of you are sort of challenging sort of conventional agronomy on your farm, and sort of what moves do you think you've made there which have made a bit of a difference? So back to you, Jonathan.
So probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, I took over the responsibility of the agronomy on the farm, which I found very helpful. Even though the previous guy was independent, he was pretty old school in his sort of thoughts. So taking that back in control has enabled me to do a few more trials and work out what we need to do and don't necessarily need to do in terms of looking after a crop. That's been a really interesting journey through the years, through different seasons. I think an example that, we use nutrition a lot more in sap testing for the crops. And alongside that is that I've been able to reduce our fungicide usage quite considerably. Wheat, which is obviously our main cash crop, we've cut fungicide use at least by 50% over a number of seasons. That's been a big what's the word I'm looking for? Really, that's been really an eye opener to see what can be done with less prescriptive kind of applications, and it's only through us doing it and seeing for ourselves over a number of years. That's just a no-brainer now.
I think that was something that really sort of almost unified you as a more tailored approach and interest in what's going on in each field. Andrew, I don't know what you would add to that.
Yeah, similar. I mean, I was doing agronomy ourselves. I have engaged with Indigrow, so they're coming in on a strategic basis, and I think they do add something to it. They've got quite a good suite of trials. They're an independent agronomy firm, and they're on an hourly basis, if you like. So they come in as a sort of consultant agronomist to help. But they've got a more, like, our approach has changed, probably the same, that we're not sort of prophylactically spraying. We're monitoring the crop and we're putting it on as we feel the need. I mean, I've been at Bromborough Estate for 17 years. I've got a pretty good handle on what we do and what we can and can't do and what we can get away with. We've made huge savings on fungicides and stuff this year. And, I think we're brewing compost and putting that down with seed now as well, compost extracts. And I think that's hopefully going to be a bit of a game changer as well. So
Fantastic. We saw your cattle come through just there, John, but you've used quite a diverse range of products, haven't you? But also on the cows. So do you want to talk about sort of your wood vinegar and that sort of thing?
Yes. So where I was up for something new. A couple of years ago, I was introduced. So on our agronomy side, a few years ago, I employed a nutritionist, a chap called Nick Woodyatt, and he's just totally, he's just plant health nutrition, and it's all balanced, and it's he sort of leaves me for dead, and he just sort of gets all carried away, and but he's really. I think he's a real leveler, because he just says, no, if you've done this, you've caused that, and I think that's been a real good help to get rid of the buying so much chemical and that sort of stuff, to keep our plants healthy, which is where we're going. And as I was saying, the other year he introduced me to a product called wood vinegar, which is it's a extract that's left over from making charcoal, and we've now decided, well, not decided, we're told that it was good. It's a sort of insecticide. It can be as well, and now we're using it on the cattle as a fly spray, mixing it up with a bit of cider, citronella, wood vinegar, keeps the flies off the tree. So, and that's where we've got to with our agronomy. And I just find that if you can just keep that plant healthy and balanced, and keep a good carbon source in there, and we're managing to keep the healthy plants and therefore avoid the fungicides. We stopped using insecticides probably when we lost a crop. I lost a crop to oilseed rape, I lost a crop to flea beetle in about 2013-14. I sprayed it 4 times with insecticide. We still lost the crop, and at the end of the day, Julie and I just said, right, that's it, we'll totally stop using insecticide. And now the wildlife on the farm is just getting more and more all the time. So it's just that question of getting going, really.
Brilliant. So I guess what have been the challenges in terms of on your farm, which have almost been a thinking point when you're looking at making those changes? So Jonathan, did you come across any challenges or points where you sort of questioned what you were doing, and then what did you do next, or why did you keep going?
Biggest challenges. I think the biggest challenges were the first year or two, trying to establish the crops when the soils were ready for the way I wanted to farm, basically. I know we were hit with 2019, 2020 were exceptionally wet as well, and trying to drill into something that was probably quite damp and not filtration was probably not very good. That was awfully challenging. Looking back now, they looked horrible, and that was really challenging because yield suffers. If yield suffers, your margin suffers, and then it knock-on effects on cash flow, which it can take a toll on you. So that was a really big challenge, and to keep focused on what we believed in was tough. And family members questioning what you're doing, which is absolutely fine. But it puts pressure on you. And I think that was to keep going in those first 2-3 years when conditions were against you and the soils probably were against you as well, was probably really tough.
Yeah. Andrew, any challenges?
I mean, it was that change in mindset. Once I'd had that change in mindset in 2013, I'm very lucky. I work for 2 very supportive landowners who, back me 100%, which is great. So there's never any question that if we don't get a winter crop drilled, I'll always have a plan B, which is generally spring cropping. But I've never found that pressure. I suppose I put pressure on myself sometimes the crops can look a bit scruffy and stuff over winter, but I think you get used to, once you get tuned into it, I wouldn't want to go back to farming any different now, I don't think, to be honest. But not too many challenges, to be honest, no.
Yeah. I certainly found your attitude to your cropping and the flexibility you allowed within the system and how you and when you make those decisions was certainly very interesting. But no, fantastic. What about you, John? Challenges?
Well, I think this year the biggest challenge is it hasn't rained since February. So, that's the weather. I think is the biggest challenge. And I think also sometimes it's hard to keep the faith. You keep going, and it's easier to say actually we'll just come up with a program. We'll go back to a bit conventional, or we'll put more nitrogen on. Where we're continuously trying to drop it and that sort of stuff. And sometimes it can be a lonely run. And my wife Julie, she gets a lot of stick. So I think that's it can be hard work, and I think that's the challenge is to keep going.
Yeah. And I think when we all came around, it was all very dry for all of you. And so in light of the challenge of the dryness of this year, do any of you want to comment on how you might change things this year?
I think the thing is, I have the confidence to say we haven't lost a drop of water that we had. Okay, so when it stopped raining in February, our soils had taken all the winter's rain. We hadn't lost any. So what more could we have done?
Anything, Jonathan?
I think I completely agree. Yeah. I think I wouldn't change anything there. And our soils. Because we obviously grow some spring crops. We were able to maintain what was there by less disturbance. So yes, don't get me wrong. 1 or 2 of the crops this spring are smaller than I'd like, but I think they'd be a lot worse if we tried to be more conventional.
Andrew?
I'd probably just echo what these guys have said. It's that's the beauty of this system. It is a bit more weather resilient. If you're not disturbing the soil, you're not losing the moisture, and that's been key this spring. So you can't change the weather, you just got to roll with it. And like I say, drilling into cover crops and stuff, you're protecting the surface of the soil, and you're keeping the moisture in there as well.
I think resilience is certainly a key word at the moment, particularly with the volatility. We've had wet years, dry years, and you need to be prepared for what comes next. So, a bit more positive. Andrew, what are you doing now, or what are you most excited about in the future?
Just coming to Groundswell gives you that injection. I remember Bill Ritchie from Crosslock talking about the back in 2015 or so, and I heard him speak about you need that injection of positivity with like-minded people every year, and that's where we get it at Groundswell. It's just a real positive show. Great people. You have great conversations. You meet, make new friends every year where we're here, and you need that positivity to push you further on. I've booked on a compost course this afternoon for the autumn, so I want to push on with that side of it and go down more with the compost extracts and compost teas. I don't know if there's anything in it or not, but it's good fun, if nothing else. So
fantastic. John?
Very similar, really. Like you said, it is an injection of a bit more enthusiasm, especially after now this evening. That'll push me on further. So yeah, it's good. We, all doing. Our challenges are the same. We still got to reduce our fertilisers. We could still got to try and grow more with less, and I think that's a challenge.
Excellent. Jonathan?
Positivity. we've got a few things going on which is exciting. Like I said earlier, now at my opening piece, that we've got cattle back on the farm which have been absent for 30 odd years. That's really exciting, and we're going to get, hopefully next year we'll get our set up organised so we can graze them properly on the herbal layers on the arable side, which will really improve the soil health there. We're trying some Bokashi. I would never think of doing that 10 or 15 years ago. Trying to see what else we can reduce in terms of input and still maintain a decent margin is always exciting and challenging because every year is different. What else? I don't know. It's very difficult at the moment. There's so much going on to not be positive, but we have to be. And the way we are farming, because there's always a fresh idea or something else we'd like to try, it just keeps you positive.
So when it comes to trying something new, how do you try that on your farm?
Field scale, really. I mean, I've probably been a bit brave sometimes doing whole farm trials or something, but over the years I've done split trials reducing fungicide. That's probably how we've got to the point we are now. Just trial and error. I mean, like just that's the beans after the herbal layer there. That's a really good trial. I thought I'd killed all that when we finished the herbal layer, but thankfully we've kept the white clover, so we've got a real good field trial there. And that's really exciting. This autumn when we're going to take the beans off, we're going to have some clover. What do we do with the clover? I might get some sheep in to graze it, then we'll plant some wheat in, and we'll see what happens after that. But it's exciting.
Andrew, John, do you ever use or do you trial things on your farm, and how does that help you adopt new things with what you're doing? So you're moving quite quickly.
I tend to, because we're a small farm, we haven't got a big acreage, I tend to go straight in both feet and and learn from there.
Andrew?
Yeah, we'll have 3 or 4 different trials every year, different crops, different input trials, different, I think you're always learning, and you can pick up, say, ideas here, but sometimes they don't quite work. You got to adapt them to work on your farm, sort of thing. So we'll always have 3 or 4 different things on the go this year. Yeah.
Brilliant. I think on that note, it's probably a good time to open up the audience. So if you guys have got any questions, there should be a roving mic, wherever that is. Tilly's got the roving mic, so chuck your hands up and ask our farmers some questions.
Hello? Yeah, good. Particularly for Jonathan, but also for John and for Andrew, what's your experience been like with SAP analysis and sort of feeding into what you're doing? Has it been useful?
So Jonathan, do you want to start with that?
It's one of those things you do on the farm. You think you're doing the right thing. That's probably one of the things I've jumped in feet first with. A bit like you, I jumped in feet first 3 years ago, and start of the spring we just went for it, believing it was more of an accurate plant test and a more of a standard tissue test, and I've just run with it. I hope I'm doing the right thing. I've not done any really trial work with that. I've just gone for it and trying. I'm probably spending more now on nutrition per hectare. Well, no, in fact, I know I am, than fungicides. But I'd rather try and keep the plant healthy than do it the other way.
I think what I've managed to do with my nutritionist is we've sort of got a little informal group together of SAP tests, tissue tests. So we just try and take trends from it, because it's surprising how the farms might be 50, 60 miles apart, but there seems to be a seasonal trend, and like next year's trend won't be the same as this year's. So that's helped us as a good way. So I don't really take, if we have, whether it's a soil test, a SAP test, or anything like that, if we throw up an anomaly, I've learned to not take any notice now. You just go with the general picture, because there's so much variables that you can't. I think if you chase every variable for every result, you'll get nowhere. I think just going level is the way to go.
Yeah, you've pretty much said what I was going to say. It's about picking up trends, I think, as much as anything. And you kind of get to know what the plant might need at what time, and you know, you can sort of almost preempt it a little bit, but it's about picking up the trends, I think, as well with it.
Fantastic. Any more questions in the audience?
Following on in terms of metrics, what is the most useful metric for you, either analytical or observational, that actually helps you see that your system's moving in the right direction?
That's a good question, Becky. I mean, we do quite extensive carbon monitoring. I think that's a pretty good indicator, and I kind of have a gut feel. We're working with Ecometric, and I kind of have a gut feel for how well we're going to do on some of that. That's been interesting because some crops you think will perform well, they don't perform well. But I mean, it's just one of many indicators. Yield as well as the obvious one too. And then just digging soil pits, like just dig a soil pit, have a look, see how many worms you've got. You know, very basic. It's very easy to baseline. We had this conversation beforehand, actually, didn't we, about baselining. You know, it's very easy to do and very simple. Anybody can do it, and it doesn't cost a lot of money, so it's worth doing.
Jonathan?
Yeah, very similar basics. Worm counts is a very good indicator of soil health. I think when we started as well, and when I got Regen Ben on board, we did some very intensive soil tests through Ian, and this summer will be the I need to redo them to see where, if anything's changed, hopefully for the better.
I suppose for us it's with the same. We've got various groups that keep wanting to test the soils and that sort of stuff and go in the results, but it's really back to the same thing. It's using the spade and just, are we building aggregation? So is it smell right? That's my best metric, is if I just get the spade in the ground and see what it smells like. Sorry.
No. Sometimes the spade is all you need. Questions? Anybody else? Over here. KJ.
Just a quick question on, you're all arable farmers, I presume. I'm a dairy farmer from Cornwall. It was just a quick question regarding glyphosate use. You're reducing your pesticide and insecticides, etc. Do you also use glyphosate as part of your tool in your toolbox to eradicate weeds when you're establishing new crops?
Yes, so we're on. We've used a fair bit of glyphosate in our journey up to now. We always had a carbon source, so we'll always add some molasses, something like that. The citric acid, make sure we get the pH right down, and then you can reduce the amount of Roundup you use or glyphosate you use, and just getting those spraying conditions ideal. Therefore, you can get the rates right down. We can get a full burn with a litre and a half, that sort of stuff. So we're getting the rates right down, and then as we're going forward now, I'm trying to work my companion crops through thinking right forward in the rotation of what herbicides we can use to take those companion crops out, so we can just keep that living root going, keep going forward. So I'm very conscious of, we've got to reduce our reliance on Roundup.
And what pH are you putting those glyphosates?
Well, I'd like to see it down to 4 if I can.
Brilliant. Andrew?
Yeah, we're still pretty reliant on glyphosate, embarrassingly, but we're buffering it, we're reducing it down. We've done a trial this year. It's because it was quite dry, we've shallow cultivated a field just to see if we can break. It was coming out of AB15, to see if we can break that AB15 and plant the crop in. It's been so dry, to be honest. The crop we've planted in hasn't really grown, but we try and limit to 1 application of glyphosate per field per season. And interesting, there was a French guy talking about worms earlier today I listened to, and it's a topic I've discussed with various people, whether it's better to plough and get rid of your weeds that way or use glyphosate. And he kind of echoed the same thing, that actually glyphosate, if you use it correctly, if you buffer it, etc., it's probably less harmful to your soil and it can manage it better than ploughing. So I'm not saying ploughing's wrong in every situation, but for us, we just use glyphosate.
Yeah, it's a real challenge because, like these guys, we do use glyphosate and probably are to a degree reliant on it. But like you, we try and lower lower the application rate by using humic acids and things like that. So yeah, it is a challenge, but we do try. I mean, getting grass into the rotation hopefully will help. There's not enough grass in the rotation, but then that's a challenge. If I put more grass in the rotation, I need to make money from that grass. Do I stock more livestock, or so that's we need a third of the farm down to grass really to really make an inroad on the problematic weeds that rely on glyphosate. But we also do like intercrop hoeing, which I'm hoping will sort of take out some of those weeds. Then in turn, the next autumn we may be able to reduce the less reliance on glyphosate. But it is a real challenge.
Fantastic. Next question. Got two. Okay, at the back.
Hello. Hi. Congrats, everyone. It's really inspirational to hear all your talk. I think you spoke about reducing the resource input. I suppose that's a fertilizer. So do you have any plans, like are you monitoring any nutrients all the time, or how that's going to be implemented for the resource optimization?
Who wants to lead that?
So just more reducing nutrition applications, like phosphate and potash, you mean, yeah? Well, I don't use phosphate and potash, artificial phosphate and potash. I haven't done for 5 years, 6 years maybe. The nitrogen use we have dropped probably 25% since we started. Little and often approach with some molasses. That seems to work really well. So I'm down to, on a wheat crop, 160 kilos now, and I will go on with a bit of foliar N. I'd like to go more down the foliar N route, but I have tried it and 1 year it didn't work, so I've just sort of pulled myself back again and I'll do some more trial work next year. But so that's I don't think we need to buy any bag P and K. There's plenty in the soil. We just need to get it available through living roots, the microbes, etc.
John?
I'd just follow on from there. We're the same. No artificial P and K has been purchased since about 2015. And we're told that if we can get enough living roots, we can get more aggregation. The more aggregation we get, the more cycling we can get of nutrients. So therefore, the less we need to put on. And I think that is our aim. That's what we're trying to achieve. We're looking at washing some of our compost and that sort of stuff as well. But I think that's the aim. The nutrients are there. We just got to find a way of getting the plants to get to them.
And Jad, Andrew?
You're going to think I'm just copying these guys now, but we haven't spread P and K for 10 years now either. But actually, we just to add on to that, we soil analysis every field every 5 years, so they're all done in rotation, and we GPS sample at 0 to 15 and 15 to 30 centimetres. So we go back to I get the same guy soil sampling. He goes back to the same place in the field, and that's done every 5 years, so we know we're in the right place. And actually, our P and K indices are going up, not down. So I'm pretty confident we're doing the right thing.
Brilliant. Have we got time for a few more? There's a hand at the front here somewhere. There we go.
Thanks. Apart from Groundswell, where are you getting your learning from, and where are you, let's say, like Farm Ed, etc.? There's a lot of information out there. How do you sift through it?
Andrew, do you want to start?
I don't know. Farm walks, just talking to, we've got a small group locally of sort of regen-minded farmers. I kind of immerse myself in it. I'm very lucky where I am. I work closely with Horizon Drills, and they bring a lot of visitors to the farm. We had a group from Germany recently. One of those guys is big into compost and stuff, so I've learned a lot actually from him. He's invited me over to Germany to have a look at his setup. I worked with the Soil Ecology Lab as well. Adam is, if you're into compost, Adam Swan, he is phenomenal. He just knows so much. So and it's just conversations. You meet people here, and you get talking to people, and
John?
Very similar really. In Hertfordshire, we got a good few little groups going in Hertfordshire, and I suppose it's just in the industry. You get going in the industry. There's other organisations like there's BASE, Green Farm Collective, that sort of stuff, and then right down through to the Direct Driller magazine. But I think it is quite a small industry, and you get to know people like and I think that's where a lot of it comes from. And I think we're all progressive. We're all looking for something to, not something, but we're all looking to go forward all the time. So you're in touch with, trying to find a way of more knowledge all the time.
Brilliant. Jonathan?
Unfortunately, there's no one around me farming the way I am. Well, there's one person. I was giving credit. There's one person, so I am kind of, on my own locally. So there's no local kind of transfer of knowledge, which is a real shame. But my knowledge, Base UK, YouTube's great. For all its faults, social media, there is still a few people on there who do, ideas we do share. Or any way of getting information. FarmWalks, Base UK again, that's really useful. Just anywhere I can. Sadly, not locally.
It only takes one farmer. You can be the first in your area.
Sorry?
You be the first farmer in your area. It only takes one. So teach everyone else around you. Share your knowledge. But I think Base UK came up quite a lot in terms of as we went round, particularly the lockdown webinars when everyone else was stuck at home, actually still having those connections with other people. Okay, we've got time for one more question. Robert.
Okay, there's a fear that glyphosate won't be banned in 6 years or so. How will you cope if it is banned? And I read, and when you read something, you don't know if it's fact. People sometimes have a go at me, where did you get that from? I read it somewhere, that glyphosate is a chelate, and it locks the minerals in the soil together, and therefore the crop you're growing then doesn't have the minerals in the bread or the whatever, or in the animal. Is the future not using the glyphosate, really, I suppose, is the question. Thank you.
Bit of a challenge. Who wants to take that one? Go on, John.
Well, that is a challenge. I thought the most side that the glyphosate was the biggest problem was that it was it was more to kill more of your soil life. So, but I think the locking up is probably the way that the product is getting to the soil. So if you're managing to do as we've talked about earlier, if you're managing to add that carbon source, get that pH right so as it's going into the plant, so the plant can absorb what you're trying to kill, you can use less of it. I think more work with the line that you're reading off there is that too much chemical is causing mineral lockup. So whether it's an acid fertilizer, a nitrogen, a potash, a phosphate, anything like that. And I think that you've got a cumulative effect there happening, and that's what's causing it. So it's, back to where we are. And I agree with you that it's got a very bad name. Anything with Monsanto on it, I wouldn't want to be trying to sell it, would you? It's got a uphill struggle.
Brilliant. Anything to add to either of you two?
Not really. I think that's covered it.
Yeah, it's a real tricky question. I mean, Garford have got an electro weeder on their stand out there. What's that going to do to soil biology? Is that going to fry all your soil biology? So you have got that sort of tech there. But I could see we perhaps need to move back to more perennial crops rather than annual crops if we haven't got glyphosate, and go back to cultivations. At the moment there's nothing else that I can see on the horizon. So.
Fantastic. So, just very, very briefly, from Jonathan back, what's one piece of advice you'd give someone starting off on their journey?
Piece of advice, trust whatever line of farming you're in, doesn't really matter at all, but just believe whatever you are trying to do, to change the way you are farming for the better, in soil health and the broader subject of farming. Just believe what you do is better, and don't worry about what your neighbours think or what is happening over the hedge. And my wife, and I've forgotten it again. I know, but my wife did a really interesting quote the other day, and it said, "Comparison is the thief of joy." And I think it's, if you keep comparing yourself to your neighbours, what they're doing, you're just going to stay off from what you're trying to do. So just stay focused and believe what you're doing is right.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, John.
I think your wife and my wife should have a conversation. And I just reiterate the same, really. You just got to. So the question was, if you're starting off in the journey, you just got to just get going, really, and just use your own eyes and your own smell and just go for it.
All of that again, but I'd probably say just keep it simple. Grow cover crop. Try and disturb the soil a bit less, and don't try and run before you can walk. There's plenty of people have gone on that journey now. Ask around. It's generally regen farming is quite a friendly community. People will host you if you ring them up and say, "Could I come for a visit?" They generally will say, "Yeah, come along." But don't try and run before you can walk. Just you can't just transition overnight. Your soils have got to adjust. So just go, make small changes and just gradually ease into it.
Fantastic. I think that's probably a good point to bring it to a close. So thank you very much for sharing your experience. I think we've probably barely scratched the surface of what you're doing and where you want to go, but it's great to hear from you, and I'm sure you'll be collared at the bar a bit later if you're over there. Before we finish, just want to say thank you to our sponsors, Cotswold Seeds and Hutchinson's, who've been great this year. Thanks to Debs and partnership in Soil Farmer competition, and also to Megan, who've also been part of this competition this year. So thank you again for that. And finally for the farmers who lots of farmers all over the place who've taken the time to actually get involved and put themselves out there, because it can be quite a scary place to be. But thanks to all the farmers, all the finalists, and to you three who come up here and shared your stories. So thank you very much. I should probably mention that all of these farmers will be doing farm walks as well, and I've had the pleasure of going to their farms. So if you can make it, the events will come through on the FGT website and through comms, and it's well worth a visit. So please do come along.